Pardon that?
Who are the attorneys appearing on behalf of the prosecution?
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Whiteside. I'm here with my co-counsel Natalie Peter, Kirkland Gregg, and Sarah Dix. We represent the state in the prosecution of Othello.
All right. Can you get through the names for me again, please?
Nicole Whiteside, Natalie Peter, Kirkland Gregg, and Sarah Dix.
And on behalf of the defense?
Good afternoon. My name is Luke Sedniak. We'll be representing the defendant Othello in this trial. My co-counsel is Chelsea Reeser. Davis Clifford. And Kendall.
Last name of the final?
Hanson.
Hanson. Okay, the two sides ready to proceed?
Your Honor, the prosecution has just a few pre-trial matters to hear. First, we'd like to ask Your Honor's preferences on moving freely back well. Also, we would like the record to reflect that Mr. Iago has been charged with criminal facilitation of this murder, and as such, for purposes of using Rule 801 D2B, hearsay exclusions would be considered the opposing party's co-conspirator. May the record simply reply?
I understand your position on that. Of course, the defense can still object if they want to. I'm looking forward to that time.
Yes, Your Honor. And shall we, for purposes of time, assume that all witnesses have been previously sworn in and are under testimony?
That's fine.
Thank you. At this time, the state has nothing further.
Well, is the defense ready to present its case? Just kidding.
Yeah, we have a couple of pre-trial matters as well. What is your preference on approaching the bench, you and the opposing witness?
Yeah, I think that we'll be fine with you moving about the courtroom freely. If you'd like to convene and assign with the judges, however, please have permission to approach the bench.
We'd also like to draw attention to the fact that Iago has taken part in a plea deal with the state.
Okay. I assume that as a part of cross-examination, you'd like to present that as evidence of his character or motivation?
Yes, sir.
And once again, of course, the same rule applies to you. If the state wishes to object to that, they can do so at the time.
Yes, sir. That is all we have.
State's ready to proceed.
All right. Madam Prosecutor, please call your case.
The state calls the case of Venice v. Othello.
Today, you're going to hear the story of a marriage. Now, the defense is going to try to tell you this was a happy, loving marriage. But we are going to tell you a different story. You will hear that Othello fell in love with Desdemona, and as such, they eloped together. But then, after only a short time in Cyprus, Othello let jealousy enter his mind. He became abusive. He used abusive words, such as whore, and he struck her in public. And later that same night, Desdemona was killed while she was sleeping peacefully in her bed. Her husband killed her. Jealousy, abuse, murder. Othello grew jealous, he abused her, and then he murdered her. Good afternoon, Your Honors. My name is Natalie Pita, and along with my co-counsel, Sarah Dix, Kirkland Gregg, Nicole Whitstein, we represent the state and the prosecution of Othello. The prosecution has brought forth a charge of murder in the first degree against the defendant for the death of his wife, Desdemona. Now, in order to prove murder in the first degree, we must establish that Othello, acting purposefully and with malice aforethought, violently caused the death of his wife. And we, the state, bear the burden of proving this to you, beyond any reasonable doubt. But now I must make it very clear exactly what this burden entails. This does not mean that we must prove Othello's guilt beyond any shadow of a doubt that could possibly be presented. We need only provide sufficient evidence to dispel any reasonable doubt, such that Your Honors, all reasonable people, see the defendant's guilt as the most logical explanation of Desdemona's death. So to prove this, we are going to call for 6 witnesses to tell you what they know about Othello and his relationship with Desdemona. First, you will hear from Brabantio, Desdemona's father, who will tell you how Othello's marriage to Desdemona was both unconventional and improper. Then we will call Rodrigo, a friend and suitor of Desdemona, who considered her relationship with Othello to be unhealthy. Then you will hear from Iago, a member of Othello's army, who not only witnessed Othello physically abuse Desdemona, but also heard Othello say he planned on killing her and exactly how he planned on killing her. Then you will hear from our first expert, an Anglican priest, Father Paul Stern. Today you will hear the defendant take the stand and claim that he was possessed at the time of the murder. But Father Stern will testify as to the unlikelihood of that being the case. Next we will call Amelia, Desdemona's lady-in-waiting and dear friend, who found Desdemona's dead body and to whom Othello confessed he killed her. Finally, you will hear from Shelby Olson, an expert on gender studies and sexuality, with a specialization in cases of domestic abuse. She will describe to you how Desdemona exhibited all of the telltale signs of a classic abuse victim. Throughout this trial, you will hear much about a woman named Desdemona, a beautiful young girl with a lot of promise, who was loved and admired by many people. But that woman has been murdered. We, the prosecution, intend to show you that Othello violently murdered her and took away all her promise and future. At the conclusion of this trial, my co-counsel, Nicole Wittstein, will come before you. She will review all the testimony that you are about to hear. She will go through the progression of Othello's jealousy, abuse, and murder. And in the end, as we are confident we will meet our burden, she will press the only just verdict of guilty. Thank you.
And everybody really votes.
Your Honors, Counsel, there's only one pertinent fact in this case, and it is this. Both the defendant and the victim have testified in depositions to the defendant's innocence. To the prosecution, in a grand style, is going to paint an incredible story, posing one of the most respected men of Venice as a madman or murderer. They will base this story primarily on the testimony of a man who is now regarded as one of the most infamous criminals in all of Venice, and his loving wife, equally as criminal. The rest of their case will be solely based on biased character witnesses and experts who have no relevance to the actual crime itself. Your Honors, even if we were to disregard the obvious inefficacy of the state's witnesses, this case is circumstantial to the point of absurdity. The prosecution may only present one witness who is remotely relevant to the scene of the crime, and that witness can only stipulate as to the death and the cause thereof of the victim. And of course, this witness was the aforementioned man's wife, killed by her husband as she attempted to repent and reveal the husband's criminal actions in regards to other cases. The prosecution may only present one witness who would show any indication of motive. And guess who that is? It's the aforementioned man himself, the criminal. This is a man who is taking a plea deal with the prosecution to stare him the death penalty in another case. Your Honors, the facts are these. At the time of death, the defendant was engaged in conversation across the room from where the victim lay. The prosecution cannot offer up a clear concept of how he was able to kill her from this position, nor why he should attempt to do so. The burden of proof lies on them, and as I'm sure you're familiar with that, it is quite an uphill battle. See, Your Honors, the only thing the prosecution will be able to teach you in this case, beyond a reasonable doubt, is that they must have been crazy to bring this case. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Please call us first witness.
The prosecution calls for Brabantio to the stand. Permission to set up the podium?
Absolutely. took an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth prior to taking this witness. And you understand that that oath still applies to your testimony.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Brabantio, B-R-A-N-V-A-N-T-I-O.
What is your relationship with the defendant, Othello?
He was once a friend of mine. He was a general for the city of Venice, and he stole my daughter from me.
How did you first find out that your daughter would be marrying Othello?
Well, I was woken up in the middle of the night by yelling, screaming from some men outside of my balcony. They told me that Othello had taken my daughter without my permission and that he intended to marry her.
What was your opinion on the marriage?
I was appalled. I was disgusted. He stole my daughter from me.
Why didn't you want Othello marrying your daughter?
Because he's a Lord. And any man that would take another man's daughter from him without consent, without his knowledge, does not deserve to have that woman.
How did you respond to the news about the marriage?
I didn't want to believe it. I was hurt. I was confused. I went to check Desdemona's room. She was gone. She had left with him, and I followed Rodrigo out to go and find him.
Did you try to get Othello in trouble in any way?
I did. I spoke with the Duke and tried to get his titles ripped away from him and to get their relationship torn apart, but it didn't work.
So why do you think Desdemona wanted to marry Othello?
She didn't want to marry him. He tricked her. He put a spell on her. He used some kind of magic.
Stay.
Thank you. No further questions.
Could you please spell your name again for the record?
Brabantio.
How long have you known Othello?
A while.
Can you describe your previous experience with him in the wars?
As I said, he was a general. He was noble, hardworking. He did his job well.
So before the elopement, you considered him honorable and praiseworthy?
I did.
Then why were you so opposed to him marrying your daughter?
Because he stole her from me. He stole my daughter from me. What kind of man would do that? I thought he was noble. Then I learned the truth.
What about Rodrigo? How do you know him?
I know him because of his family. We live in the same area.
On the night of the elopement, there were two men yelling at your door. Can you identify them?
Rodrigo, and I don't know who the other man was. He never said his name.
Did you make it clear to Rodrigo that Desdemona was uninterested in him?
Othello, I would have been okay with it.
Was the other man present when you told Rodrigo this?
I guess I can't be sure. It was dark. I was up on the balcony. I know that I was speaking with Rodrigo, but he may have been there.
What did the two men tell you to get you out of bed so quickly?
He told me that my daughter and the Moor were making the beast with 2 bats.
And this
Objection. Hearsay.
It may have been hearsay at the time, but I'm afraid the toothpaste is out of tube on that one, so I'll overrule it.
did this turn out to be true?
Objection. Speculation.
I'll sustain the objection to the extent that the witness would testify about anything beyond her own personal knowledge that she rationally, or something that she rationally perceived herself. So, sir, you can answer the question to the extent that you rationally perceived any information that would be pertinent to the attorney's question.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Did you know of any indication that gave you the idea that what the two men told you was true?
All I know is that Othello stole my daughter from me. He took her. In the middle of the night, he took her from me. He stole my daughter.
Did the Duke of Venice support you or Othello in this dispute?
He stole my daughter from me.
Did the Duke of Venice support you or
He
Othello?
took her from me.
Did the Duke of Venice support you or Othello in your dispute with him?
He should have. He should have supported me. Othello stole Desdemona from me.
So he didn't support you.
He should have.
And who did Desdemona support?
Desdemona, at that time, supported Othello, but that was not my daughter. She was under a spell.
Redirect.
No regret.
So you may step down. Next witness from Venice, please.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call Rodrigo.
Mr. Rodrigo, you understand that you're under oath? You understand that you're expected to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please proceed, Mr. Prosecutor.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Rodrigo.
Could you please describe for us your involvement with this case?
My involvement in this case was I
her. I loved her with all of my heart, and I'm so sorry. I just don't understand what she ever did to deserve it. She's dead. She never deserved this. I should have been with her. If she had chosen me over Othello, none of this would have happened.
Objection, Your Honor. Witness is speculative.
And when you answer a question, please try to refrain from any type of speculation about things that you yourself do not know. Please proceed, Mr. Kowski.
Your interaction with her, how would you characterize Desmond?
She was perfect. I can't imagine anyone who could have been more perfect. She was, when she walked into a room, everyone knew, everyone was happier because she was there. She cared, and she loved in a way that nobody ever had before.
Why was it that you specifically felt that you wanted to be with Desmond?
Because she deserved the best. And I felt that only I could have given her the best.
When did you first find out about Desdemona and Othello?
It was Iago who told me that they were getting married.
What did you do after finding this out?
I didn't know what to do. I couldn't believe it. She couldn't. I talked with Iago and we decided to tell her father. It was the only way that we felt we could right this wrong.
Did you have a pre-existing relationship with Romantia?
I had been over to his house a few times in order to court Desdemona. He did not quite approve of me at first, but I think after he found out about Desdemona and Othello, he told me that he would have rather I had been with Desdemona than Othello.
What moved you to go alert Romantia to his daughter's disappearance?
Well, obviously, he could have. There's no way he would have known about their relationship. Otherwise, there's no way he would have approved.
Can you possibly elaborate on that for us, to your knowledge? Why was that?
I mean, Othello was in the military. He could have been dangerous. We don't know.
Objection, Your Honor. Witness is continuing to speculate.
I'll overrule for the moment. Again, Mr. Rodriguez, make sure that you're only testifying as to stuff that you know, not that you're speculating.
To your knowledge, how did the relationship between Othello and Desdemona begin?
I don't know all the details, of course. I only found out about their relationship soon before they got married, but I was told that it was in secret. She escaped from her household to get married to them. What kind of relationship is that you have to hide?
Did you remain in contact with her after she had become involved with it?
Well, I sent her gifts. I sent her tokens of my love up until the point that she died.
Why was it that you did that?
Well, she never told me. I never got word that she did not receive my gifts. And maybe there was a chance she still could have loved.
Was there anything that led you to believe that her marriage was unhappy?
Well, I'm sorry, it's just the thought of someone hurting her, I don't understand. There was a point in time that Othello hit her. He struck her.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you have any more details about that incident that you witnessed, would you please share with me? I know it's hard for you.
I don't know what else there is to say.
So,
Does-
due to witnessing an event like that, and from what you were able to garner on your own, to your own knowledge, not through other people's telling you, what was your perception of Othello and Desdemona's relationship?
Objection, Your Honor. It's a speculative question.
Your Honor, I believe I've specifically phrased the question so that it's only to her own knowledge.
Overruled, since Dennis is asking about her perception.
Your Honor.
Desdemona only deserved it best. She only... I believe that anyone who would ever strike Desdemona, anyone who would not treat her in a way that she deserves is not right for her.
No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Just please state your name for the record.
My name is Rodrigo.
You mentioned an incident outside of Brabantio's house. Were you alone when you went there?
No,
Who were you talking about?
I was with Iago.
Would you say that you were a great familiar of Iago?
We knew each other well, yes.
And he was the ancient of Othello, correct?
Yes.
Othello being someone you considered your rival.
As I said before, I don't believe that Othello was right for Desdemona. He didn't treat her right. She didn't deserve what happened to her.
If you please stick to the questions.
It's not fair. None of this is fair. I didn't deserve to die. She didn't deserve to die.
Thank you. If you would stick to the questions when you ask.
Please compose yourself and attempt to answer the question the best way possible.
I'm sorry, I didn't repeat the question.
Othello was someone you considered your rival. Would that be correct?
I guess so.
Now, with Iago being the ancient of your rival Othello, why did you feel you could trust him?
He told me he would help me. He told me that Desdemona would get that would help me in my quest for Desdemona as well.
Did he make any requests pertaining specifically to Mr. Michael Castle?
Well, yes, I was told that Desdemona was in love with Michael Cassio, and
You were asked to kill Mr. Castle, is that correct?
it was the only way.
Objection, Your Honor. Once again, hearsay.
Your Honor, this was also testified to in depositions as a prior statement.
Sustained.
But you attempted to kill Mr. Castle, is that correct?
Was not successful.
And you were wounded in the attempt, is that correct? as well?
Yes.
Did Mr. Iago appear while you and Cassio were laying wounded on the ground?
Yes.
And what happened next?
Objection, Your Honor. This line of questioning has little to do with relevance to either the defendant or the victim in this case, and it is causing the witness to be under a lot of distress.
Your Honor, we're attempting to establish character motive for one of the state's witnesses, Mr. Iago.
Do we have any water or tissues for the witness to allow him to compose himself? And with regard to the substance of the testimony, I'll overrule it from now, but really try to sum up the line of questioning by the state.
We have some water here.